Michael.
Just give 1 second.
Yeah. I'm just going to say, for me, this is the first time I see the movie on a big screen. I never saw it before. Wow. Because as I told you, when the movie was finished, it was immediately, when the movie was finished, oh, you can hear me.
No, I'm recording.
Okay. When this movie was finished, it was never went to theatrical release. It went directly to video, to cassettes. I never seen it this glory, and it was a bad quality, you know. And fantastic. Thank you very much. It's all because of Michael. Thank you very much. Please, if you have any questions, we are here to answer. Mike can tell you about the reconstruction of the.
Right, hang on.
Sure.
All right, just pretend that you guys aren't here and have a seat. Or do you like to stand? Okay, all right, we're live.
And I just want to remind you, this movie was filmed here in Texas, not in the South, not in the deep South. You can hear me, I guess. Yeah, you can hear me. You can hear me. Yeah. It was filmed here, not far from here, in Waxahachie, here from in Dallas. And the entire crew and most of the cast are here from Texas. The only people that came from Los Angeles was myself, Steve James plays Quinton, and Margaret Avery who plays Belle. Everybody else was from here. I can't remember anybody else who came from Los Angeles. So it's really local Texan production. And boy, it was interesting. I must admit that seeing the movie nowadays, it has a little bit different point of view. You have noticed that the language is pretty harsh. I don't remember if it's in the 80s, in the end of the 80s, when we made the movie, it was as strong as it is today, as it comes across today. After all, it is 35 years of a difference between then and there. So go ahead if you have any question about this particular movie or about any other. I know you are all film students, you're basically storytellers in potential. You are storytellers, and if you have any question regarding this movie or any other movie or filmmaking in general, commercial filmmaking, because this was my field through my career, I'm here to listen. Go ahead.
How exactly did you come onto the
I think Michael.
Yeah, I don't know if it's working right.
Okay, I'm listening.
Oh, but
I'll come back.
okay.
Sorry.
How exactly did you come onto the project?
Okay. Let me go back here because the question is, how did I come up with the project? I did not come up with this project. This project was the dream child of the writer-producer. His name was Sam Vance. He, sadly enough, passed away last year. But his widow and one of the producers who was sitting here earlier, Valerie Vance. And I was a director at the time. I directed a couple of kind of popular, famous movies. American Ninja #2, action movies, among also other movies. And Steve James was one of the stars in American Ninja. There are two stars, Michael Dudikoff and Steve James. So they were already famous. Those movies were already famous. The production team, which were Texan, which I just mentioned, Sam Vance and his wife Valerie Vance, and two local, Regina and Troy, and Troy plays the guy who screamed at the sheriff, the guy with the beard, who extended his hand at the end. They approached me. I think they approached me because my reputation was already building up. I was a young director. I was in my 20s, 30s, and my reputation as director was building up. And they approached me. They came to me through an agent, And actually, they came to Los Angeles, and they actually came to my house. I invited them, and that's why I was introduced to the project. They gave me a script. It was a big script, 160 pages, huge script. And I read it, and I said, "Whoa, what a story!" You know, there was never been a movie like this in the history of discrimination, of the saga of black discrimination in the South. Nothing like this ever been done before, to my knowledge, in cinema, ever. So I was overwhelmed. Anyway, I expressed my feeling to them. They spoke with me. They interviewed me for a few times. They decided that I'm the right director. And here comes a big question. How come they didn't hire a black director? You know, it's a big question. But I never asked, I never got the answer. We got along. I understood the subject. They felt, Sam, the man who wrote the script, and it was his dream, he probably had a good rapport with me, and he understood that, he felt that I understand the subject. Probably, I never asked him, so I don't know the complete answer. I was honored to direct such a movie, really honored, and mainly good actors, most of the actors, as I told you, local. I was really happy that such a project came my way, really, really. Sadly enough, not anymore, I hope it is changing now, sadly enough, the movie disappeared. It kind of disappeared. There was a lot of intrigues and in the distribution, in the world of distribution. There were some other movies, similar movies at the time. Mississippi Burning was the big one. And I don't know if it's intentionally done by Hollywood. It was presented to Hollywood, this movie. And Paramount picked it up, but for cassettes only, for distribution in video only, home video only. And I have no idea if there is some politics in Hollywood, or they're trying to sort of the competition. They didn't want, my theory that they didn't want this movie to compete with Mississippi Burning.
Wow.
Of course, we didn't have big stars. Mississippi Burning had Gene Hackman, this one didn't have. But still, this is my feeling, that there was kind of politics trying to shovel this movie aside so it will not hurt the distribution of other movies. It happened before. So,
Did you have any questions for us, or?
No, I was.
We're just opening up the floor.
Yeah, just.
go ahead.
Okay, well, well, I mean, we're live, so, for people who are watching on Instagram and on YouTube, we're in Denton, Texas, and once again, this screening, you're the very first audience to see Riverbend since 1989. I can assure you of that. So,
Wow.
in an audience, everything else was on video and on small screens. So this was a tremendous experience for us, and I thank you for that. And again, these events are for the legacy of Steve James and Sam Vance. So I just have to say that on camera. But
You were looking for Sam Vance for a long time. We didn't know we
we
couldn't
just
find
missed
him.
them. But thankfully, because of the power of social media, we got Marcus.
He found us.
Marcus and Valerie found us, and they'll be at the screening tomorrow. But just feedback. I mean, I always like to get feedback, as well as questions. Yeah.
Well, first of all, I want to say congratulations. My name is Nadine Patterson. I'm
Thank you
also
very
from
much.
Philadelphia. And it's a beautiful film. It's a beautiful looking film. It really holds up well over time. And I think it's a radical message of Black self-determination. And it's a message that I doubt that Hollywood wanted to release it at that time, because Mississippi Burning focused on the white protagonist, quite frankly. And this focused on, really the first voice you hear in the film is Margaret Avery as Belle. It was her story. I feel like it's her co-story along with the lead, with Steve James, So it's just powerful. And just thank you for bringing it back to the cinema, Mike. And thank you, Sam, for directing it. And I love it when,
Totally my honor.
when filmmakers cross cultures and cross genres and have empathy for other people. So thank you for a very empathetic portrayal of African American life. Thank you. Thank you.
Very powerful word. And let me, in this form where we are all storytellers. It's not you are not a regular audience in a theater. You are in the side of the storytellers. So all I'm saying, we, directors, writers, we are storytellers. That's our job, to take a good story to bring it to the audience, to an audience. And if there is a message, wow, hallelujah, what a better. Some movies don't have message, you know. Believe me, I've done movies which are sheer entertainment, shooting but if you have a story in your hand, you can bring a good, compelling story to the screen and have a message on top of it, well, much better. So, you know, for all of you guys, you are storytellers, potentially movie makers, and keep in mind that that's what you are. Go ahead.
When you was making it, did you have to step out your comfort zone, or did you feel very comfortable making the story, directing?
This was very dicey. You asked me if it was in my comfort zone to direct such a movie. I'll tell you. I grew up in another land, not in America. I did not grow up with this discrimination from elementary school into high school. I grew up in Israel in the 50s. Israel in the 50s was a socialist country. I grew up in an atmosphere of equality. The story of slavery was a big thing in our education. The slavery in the United States, way over there. It was a big thing. So I grew up on this legacy that something happened wrong in America. Something wrong is going on in America. Now, I grew up in the 60s. Later, I was a high school kid during the civil rights movement. So we heard the news. I was observing the news of the civil rights movement, the assassination of Kennedy, assassination of Martin Luther King. That all came to us down. And I saw the movie that my early education was To Kill a Mockingbird. You know, the books that they gave us in school, Uncle Tom Cabin. This was, so I didn't have this problem that maybe an American white director who grew up here, or maybe in the South, or even in California, I didn't carry this burden with me. I came up with totally open mind, where, okay, I'm ready for such a movie. I'm really ready for such a movie. That's the way I grew up. That was my education. And I always rooted for the underdog. So anyway,
Yeah.
so maybe it answers your question that I was ready for it. I was ready for this movie.
We've got this gentleman here. He's holding up.
What was the biggest problem? I guess biggest challenge that you had when making this movie?
Yeah, my biggest challenge, I'll come to a technical, but let me tell you the biggest challenge that I had. The script was full with the N-word. This, to me, it was, I was shivering. How am I going to, you know, every day on the set, the sheriff and etc. So I expressed this, my concern to Sam Vance, who was the producer. Sam Vance was actually, I have learned today, I didn't know this year, he was really actually black officer in Vietnam, a writer. I didn't know, only today I learned. And I came to him, I said, you know, Vance, Sam, I have a problem with all this language of the sheriff, etc. And he said, don't worry, this is the language of the 60s in the South. This is exactly how it was. He said, I still have a problem. He said, okay, I'll tell you what, we'll bring a dialogue coach. And he brought in, he was an acting teacher, and he came in and he was helping me whenever it came to the dialogue. I remember the scene in the church, you know. So I told this guy, his name was Moses. He goes, Moses, go talk with the people, and before we start the scene, I want to apologize before we even start shooting. I mean, the people, the extras in the scene. And the same thing was in the nightclub, where they're dancing in the nightclub. And this guy Moses helped me. But this was my biggest psychological problem. Now, of course, there were some technical problems. This movie is privately financed. It was not done by a company, by a Hollywood company. People with private money put their own money in here from Texas, and we made the movie. So we didn't have this structure of production company going along. But whatever was missing, they really backed me up, whatever I needed. But the money was tight. So I told the story today, and I'll tell you the story. The house that you see in the beginning was somewhere in the prairies, and this was my vision of the house. So we were scouting and scouting and scouting, and finally we found it Maypearl or somewhere down there in the prairies. And it was run down total. So I turned around to the production people, I said, I like this house. I want to shoot the movie in this house. They check it out, they said, no, then we have to fix it, and it's gonna be expensive, it's gonna cost a lot of money. Go find another house, which we don't. I said, no, I like this house, I want this house. And we started to struggle because it's private money and the budget was minuscule. It was a small, independent, low budget movie. Eventually they gave up. I was so adamant and fighting for this house that we restored the house, they rebuilt the house, and this house that you see that Bell lives in. So this kind of problems was a production problem. But the crew was excellent, professional crew and cinematographer. Also local from Dallas, he also passed away, Kenny Lankin. You saw the visual, fantastic. He was a good cinematographer. He understood me and the way I wanted it. And so those were the challenges. Nothing out of the ordinary.
Hello. Okay. How you doing? I had two questions. You kind of answered it a little bit, but my first question was, do you feel like your direction on this film influenced like any of your directing in any of your other films that you worked on? And then also, do you feel like you would have changed anything? Now looking at it like years later, do you feel like you would have changed anything as far as?
I think, and we did. I'll tell you in a second. Okay, number one, directing. Listen guys, you are about to direct movies in the future. Director is somebody who from early in the morning until late at night is occupied in his brain. Director doesn't have time to go and sit and drink coffee. It's not in his schedule. You are there on the set as a director, problems, answers, questions. What do we do? Whoa, we don't have the guns today. How do you solve the day? How do you save the day? There are so many problems which are avalanching upon you as a director. At the same time that you have to help to resolve the problem, it doesn't mean that the director resolves all the problem, but he has to give order. At the same time, you have to bestow this feeling that you are in charge of things. You know, it's not going out of hand. There is somebody here at the head who watches. At the same time, you have to think all the time as a director, are we working toward our story? Because everybody I'm not about the actor, but everybody in the crew, they are not responsible for the story. They are responsible for lighting, for wardrobe, for art department. They don't care if the story will gel together or not. Only one man, only the director, sometimes the producer. It's your responsibility.
It's a man or woman nowadays.
A man or woman, I'm sorry, person.
Person.
A person.
Human.
Actually, women's are making
Yeah,
today
human.
better movies. You see Barbie, you saw Barbie. and right, so you are there all the time. So from a technical point of directing, the technical side of directing is the same. It doesn't matter. You know, I directed a musical once, Breaking 2 Electric Boogaloo, hip hop movie. And then this type of a movie. And I was involved in a comedy, but there is a lot of technicality in the work of the director. And you know, the audience don't care, and audience should not care. With all the technicalities that the director is facing all day long. Where do we put the light? Where do we put the camera? How do we resolve it? I would like to have the camera up looking down. We don't have a crane today. You're consumed by technical. So I don't think that the directing was different between Riverbend and American Ninja. It's the same type of technical work. The atmosphere might be different. It's a different, you are engulfed, I was engulfed in a different atmosphere. Now about changing. So maybe I hope I answered this part. About changing, this script, I was handed a very big script, 160 pages. Usually, the format in Hollywood is 120 pages for a dialogue movie, for a dramatic movie. It gives you 90 minutes to 100 and few minutes at the end. On action movies, we don't even have 120. We have 95 pages. That's enough because the action is not described in the scripts. An action sequence can be 5, 7, 8 minutes, which are not described in the script. So this script was 160 pages. And I was trying to explain that producers were novice. They never produced movie in their life. So I was trying to tell them, listen guys, this is too long. It's a waste of money. But they said, they didn't want to listen. They said, go ahead and shoot this 160 pages. This is our product. We want you to go and make it, execute it. Okay, we shot most of the 160 pages. We went to the editing room. We are coming, the movie is 2.5 hours. Huge movie because the script was huge. So there are scenes that you don't see here, and there were scenes that we never had in the movie, in the finished movie. Now when Michael found this copy of the movie, I told you 5 scenes were missing. 2 of them were reconstructed, you saw it. When the quality really dropped. One of them was the sheriff comes to meet with the city council, was very low. And another one when Quentin comes to talk with his friend, with the actor behind the jeep. And the singing of the choir. We cannot understand why did they cut the singing of the choir out of the movie.
I always say the projectionist has final cut. So somewhere along the line, this print physically was altered, and that's what we came up with. But
now there was, there was a romantic story between Quentin and Ben. It's not in the movie.
Yeah.
So this was my decision, asking Mike not to restore those 2 scenes. It's a 2.5 scenes, which are not in the movie today. They did not come, the answer, the short answer, when you see them, they did not come up to a standard that I believe that should be stay in the movie. And I believe that in your imagination, in the audience imagination, you understand the romantic relationship between them without seeing them talking and blah, blah, and she's kissing him. We understand it. We are much more advanced in the cinematic language nowadays than 35 years ago. We get it. Whoa, okay, there is a romantic relationship between them. So we took out, we never restored the romantic sequences between them.
Jack, I'm just curious, did it hold up?
Oh, yes. So I actually have 2 quick questions.
Go ahead, Jack.
You did 3 or 4 films for the Cannon Group back in the 80s, and I even made a documentary on them recently. And I heard that Menahem Golan and Norman Globus, not only did they love movies, but they loved the people who made their movies. How were they to work with? And is there ever a script that you turned down that later got made into a good movie and you regretted turning it down?
So just for the microphones, what was it like working with Golan and Globus? And were there any movies that you turned down that you regret?
I did. Mistakenly, yes, I did. The question is about a film company that existed in the 90s and the 80s in Hollywood. An independent production company which was called Cannon Film. Cannon Film was a group headed by 2 Israelis, which I knew them because I was assistant director for them prior to their establishing this company, Cannon. The interesting thing about Cannon Film that you're mentioning, that they produced within the 5 years that they exist more than I could. They did not bother me. I directed for them action movies. Revenge of the Ninja, Ninja 3 The Domination, and dance movie, Breaking to Electric Boogaloo. American Ninja #1, American Ninja #2. One movie that I consider, also with Steve James, I consider the best of my directing action is called Avenging Force. Was not a very popular movie in distribution, but I still think it's a good action movie. By the way, also racial relationship.
Yeah,
It's about white supremacy.
Available on, you can watch it on YouTube, but
Yes.
if you want to own it, Kino Lorber.
Yeah, YouTube. It's a movie about white supremacy in New Orleans, in Louisiana, and I think very powerful. So yes, this Canon film got such in trouble financially. You know, the movies did not make enough money. They tried to produce Superman #5, I think. It was a disaster. If you don't make money with Superman, you're in trouble, you know. And the company went deeper and deeper into debt and whatever. Eventually, it went into bankruptcy and dissipated. The movies, the 500, 400, 500 movies were part of the bankruptcy court settlement, and it went to different places who own their own money. All of the movies that I directed luckily went to MGM, and they are today in the end of MGM. We think today Amazon. We think Amazon bought MGM, the library of MGM. So luckily, all the movies that I did for Canon Film, this movie was not done for Canon. So I was lucky. They all went to MGM. MGM took good care of them and in the distribution.
Huge call following. So, but is there a movie that you were offered that you?
Right. I'm sorry. Okay, I made American Ninja. You know, Revenge of the Ninja was quite a success, and then American Ninja was a big success, huge success among the young crowd of, especially mainly male. So I felt, okay, I'm on top of the world now. I'm the king. And then in the company there was a producer. He comes to me with a script. He stops me in the corridor and said, "Listen, I have a script. I really want you to direct it." I pick up the script, Bloodsport. I go and I read the script in one location. The whole Bloodsport takes place in one location, the movie. I came back, I said, "Listen, I'm really not interested." He said, "Are you crazy? This is going to be a big movie." I said, "Listen, one location, I think it's going to be boring movie. It's a loser. You know, don't produce it." I rejected it. I was given the Avenging Force, which I told you, hold on, Michael did go. And I went to New Orleans, I did Avenging Force. Another director directed the Bloodsport. Jean-Claude Van Damme was unknown when they did the movie. He stars in the movie. The movie was sitting on the shelf for 2 years. The owners of the company, when they saw the finished product, they did not believe in the movie. It was sitting on the shelf for 2 years. And Van Damme was, you know, driving them crazy again and again. He said, "Why do you know?" He drove them crazy until they said, "Okay, go ahead, distribute the movie." The movie was a huge hit, unbelievable. So that's one movie that I didn't direct.
Where are we
What
at?
a mistake!
Where are we at on time? There's like 3 hands up, 4 hands up.
We have time.
Okay. So who's next?
We got it right here.
Yeah, go ahead. Man.
My name is Samari. I think just want to say first, like, this is a great experience, just like seeing this, like, especially like, I think like 35 years ever since. And one of the main interesting aspects I really liked about it was like how consistent it was. Like, you know,
Yeah, listen. Go ahead.
one of the interesting aspects I liked about it was how it was consistent, like the military aspect, where like for Quinn's character, for him being a major, like I was surprised how, because before I transferred here to UNT, I was in the military before. I thought it was very interesting how it was kind of accurate. A lot of movies tend to do when they want to involve military in their films, or they're wearing like different ranks and like incorrect ranks and things like that, like weird, funny stuff. Like if you're like from the military, like you think that stuff is kind of funny. So I thought it was like very interesting how it was accurate in that aspect. So how did you guys like make it so accurate? Like,
Okay.
How
So,
did it get so accurate?
And I'll repeat the question, unless you want to repeat. The question is, how come the movie was so accurate from a military point of view? Good question, and I have for you a good story. at the same time. I myself served in the military for 3 years. Not in any combat unit, nothing fancy, but I know more or less what military means and how it goes. The writer, Sam Vance, he was in Vietnam. He was really, so if I remember accurately, he helped. He was watching us to see that we don't make mistake. He probably was talking with the wardrobe department to make sure that all the insignia is the correct insignia, etc. You know, many times things are happening behind the director's back. You know, people are helping, they don't have to bother the director with every minute details. So many times things are going behind to make sure that everything is accurate. It does happen. Now we also had an advisor on the set. He's here from Texas. Actually, he's here from Dallas. He's not here today. I hope he will come to the screening on Monday. Saturday. Mike Shane. He was the stunt coordinator and the second unit director. So he was in charge to see that the military, that they move correctly. I think he has also military background. And Sam was there, Mr. Vance was there to see that everything will be correct. So I think all of this together answers your question. But if you have a second, I'll tell you another story which is funny. I was once entrusted to direct a movie which is called Delta Force. Delta Force number 3. There were 3 Delta Force. Delta Force number 1, Delta Force number 2. I was entrusted, and by some kind of accident, doesn't matter now, I was not part of the pre-production, but I arrived in the first day of shooting. It was a change of director in the day before shooting. Wow. So I arrived to the set in director, and I read the script quickly, and this is now not regular in military. Now we are talking about special unit, commando unit. And I started to direct. I didn't pay attention. I'm directing 1 week, 2 weeks. And then one day, I'm sitting there and we have something to do. And in my head I said, just wait a second. I'm here directing a military movie about special unit commander, and I don't have a military advisor with me. How do I know that I'm doing the right stuff? I was terrified to the rest of the movie. I had help, stunt people, etc. Some people on the crew had the military background and commando background, so they helped me.
Well, that brings up a good question. I mean, everybody's making films, and independent, right? Like how important is the crew to getting you through a feature-length schedule?
Okay, listen. You are making a movie. Movie is not a one-man job, not one-man effort. It's not a painter that sits in the house and painting. It's not a writer that sits in the house and writes. This is a collaborative effort. You are conducting a group. You're like a commander of military, of people that everyone brings little bit. And as a director, as my advice, listen to the people. Listen to your crew. They have good ideas, and we make the movie together. It's not the director that make the movie. There are some geniuses who they do the photography, they wrote the script, they do the photography, they direct and they edit. Okay, there are some, but I think that my view and most of people that movie making is a collaborative effort. There is a group of talent with you together. Of course, actors, definitely. But you have some behind the scene talent. Even the people who light the scene, they can light it in different way. Even the people who prepare the set for you, the set dresser. When I told you this Bell house was empty, was an empty house. But when you go in, there is a washing machine. There is she's drying the.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah,
Oh my
those
gosh,
other
the
people, it
detail.
was not my idea. Other people came to me and said, why don't we have this little old-fashioned
hand dryer.
dryer? I said, wow, great idea, please bring it on.
So that begs the question. When you look at the film now against your body of work, where do you see your fingerprint on Riverbend? Like, what did you bring to this that you feel the most proud of?
The director have the power of veto on the set. This is there are two levels to directing, the conscious level and the subconscious level. Okay, the director has two powers. One is the power to suggest, to ask for something, to demand something, and the other is to veto things. To say, well, this, it's not part of the movie. But I would like to have, I brought you the example of the house, of the house. The church, I really wanted it out of in the wood church. This was my vision. And my crew helped me to find this church. So there are two levels. One level you bring, this is what you planned with director. You are a director, you are an artist or creator, and you have ideas. But the other level, you bring into the movie decisions that you are not aware of. They are way back from your childhood, from your education. And you can make a decision that you are not aware of. So to answer your question, to wrap it up, it's a lesson that I learned very early in my career. I made a movie once, a short movie. It's an interesting story. And it, you know, the story is so and so. And I showed it to an audience. And somebody came to me and told me, how come you made a movie about the Holocaust? The Jewish Holocaust. I told him, this is not a movie about the Holocaust. And he told me, and he said, yeah, it is. And I said, I don't think so. He told me, it's not for you to judge what the movie is. It's for the audience to judge. The audience makes the decision what kind of movie you make.
Right.
Not you, not the creator. So the same goes for painting. You paint, but the audience makes the decision what kind of painting it is or what kind of movie it is.
Well, then I would say, and I know.
So what did I bring in?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I think that your collaboration with Steve James is important
Absolutely.
to this film, and I think that it's a very delicate balance that this movie plays in terms of the two themes, which is justice versus what's it?
Revenge.
Revenge.
Yeah, Michael, I forgot. I told you. I'm sorry that I'm stopping you.
Yeah.
The one thing that was in my mind all the time, and it comes from the writer. And he told me, and I insisted all the time, this is not a movie about revenge. It's a movie about justice, seeking justice. And this was important to us as the creators of the movie all the time.
Right.
Let's not make a movie about revenge, just going out, killing people, but we are seeking justice. But not everything is black and white. You know, we have the good guy, we have the bad guy, we have the Tony guy, we have, you know.
Exactly, yeah.
But still, it's about justice, not about revenge.
And I think you see that in Avenging Force, and I think you see that in all the American Ninja movies.
So maybe it's
And-
within my character.
And I think the people that have, if you've seen those movies, I think the justice that we really get is to see a true black action hero. Steve James was often pushed into the background in his roles. This is one of only 2 starring roles for Steve. And I think it holds up, right?
I owed him. You know, there is a story behind it.
Okay.
That's, you know, I'm a storyteller. You know, we are storytellers, so we like to tell stories. I made 2 movies with Steve James, which are called American Ninja. He's a hero in American Ninja. He's the guy who comes at the end and saves the day. There is the famous, he comes with a machine gun at the end. But then I made another movie, I directed another movie which is called Avenging Force. And again, it's Steve James and Michael Dudikoff. Steve is an aspiring politician in New Orleans. And there is a supremacy group who doesn't want him to get into politics, to win a seat or whatever. So halfway, by the nature of the story, halfway through the movie, he has to die. They kill him. The supremacy group killed this politician, which was portrayed by Steve James. Steve hated the idea. I mean, when I say hated, with passion.
Well, not only does he die, but every other black character in this movie it gets ended.
Yeah, but he didn't want to die.
Yeah.
Everybody came to me, Sam, you owe me. I'm going to do it, but you owe me. One day you will have to repay for this. And I said, yes, Steve, what can I do? This is the script, this is the story. I cannot change the movie. The politician has to die in order for the story to continue. And when I got this movie chance to direct this movie, and Steve got the lead part, he came to me and said, "This is the thing. Thank you." He said, "I agreed to die for you in the other movie, but okay, this is good."
So, I was just gonna say for a lot of our students, I'm Professor Martin, I teach in the department. I'm also the director of the MFA program that we have. In 1989, a filmmaker named Spike Lee made a film called Do the Right Thing. And I remember sitting in the audience in Philly, where I grew up, and that movie changed me. Changed me as a person and as a filmmaker. And I looked up the date of that, and that was '89, and this came out in 1990. And so sometimes in history, you'll find different filmmakers doing different things, but with a lot of the same themes.
Yeah, and Mississippi Burning came.
Yeah.
More or less.
Yeah, and that film, I didn't respond to that film.
I
But
understand.
I respond to this film very much in a similar way that I respond to Do the Right Thing.
Interesting.
And in that film, you know, my question is, if this film is about justice, that film isn't about revenge either, you know, but it is another perspective of racial relations in America. And what I want to say, the reason I bring it up is that I've been in Texas for 14 years, and let me tell you what I don't see. I don't see enough stories about the South and about the experiences of people of color from the South. Just anecdotally, as a professor, I see a lot of stories about urban America, and I see a lot of trauma porn. But I don't see stories about real people living real lives, facing real decisions. And I'm really proud that you're here today, and I think you've expressed so well what it means to be a director. Regardless of color, regardless of where you were born, it has to do with the truth about the human existence, the human condition. And so I really want to encourage you as you're following your path and making your films to keep that in mind, to stay true to yourself and tell your story, tell a story in your backyard about, because that's really powerful. That's where the power lies. I love it that they made a film in Texas with local actors. There's no reason we can't do the same thing.
Yes.
Whether it's a documentary or a narrative or whatever. And so I'm just so honored to be here 30 years later with a film made within the same time.
Yes.
You know, when Spike threw that trash can into the pizza parlor, the audience got up and cheered. You know, and you know, and then like for this film, by the time it has the resolution, I kind of want those love scenes because I want more. I want more of those
Mike is
two
going
actors.
to put the love scenes
I
in
want them
the,
together.
But
in
the
the
kiss
additional
at the end.
material.
But the kiss at the end is good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
it's
kiss at
good.
the end, and they
It's
just are
good.
in that clutch, and the camera pulls out.
But you know, it's from the
fantastic.
beginning when she gives him the gun,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and they look at each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you know, okay,
I
something
like
is
that,
going to happen here.
and you kept the looks, like his looking at her, you kept those little winks in there. So
Uh-huh.
it works.
So
It-
you know it's going to.
It's good.
So
It's-
speed round, who's left?
We have one gentleman over there.
Okay.
I just want to say that there's a lot of performances, great performances in the film. So I just want to know if there is any advice on how you direct actors and getting them to see the vision that you see.
Advice on directing actors?
Directing, I'll tell you, I don't know other directors. Directing is a very lonely job. Very lonely job. Electricians work with electrician, grips work with grips, cameramen will work. Directors don't work with other directors, so it's a lonely job. But I read books, so there is different approaches to what should the director do with actors, right? I was one with a symposium, and I was with Clint Eastwood, was on the stage talking. And they asked him exactly the same question. And his answer was, listen, the actor has to do his job. If he doesn't know his job, I fire him. I bring another actor who knows what to do. I don't have to do the acting. Clint Eastwood was an actor himself, you know. He said, I don't have to do the acting. They have to do the acting. So I sit there. Okay, so my approach is more or less the same. I would like to be like a conductor, but I cannot play the violin. I cannot take the violin and play the violin because I'm not a violin player. I don't come from acting. There are directors that comes from the world of directors who come from the world of acting, of course. There are directors who come from the world of more technical. I'm one of them. So my approach was always, let's see what the actor can bring. You know, we have a reading, we have rehearsal, dry rehearsal before we roll the camera. Let's see what they bring to the scene. You know, and then if I feel, you know, it's instinct, it's not so much that they are veering from the main story, they are taking it away a little bit, I would talk with them. I try to do it discreet. Actors are very, very sensitive people. Remember, guys, actors are sensitive people. You cannot scream at an actor in front of the crew or give them like any mean. You can give them compliments. They love compliments. Actors. But so my approach, my way of working is I take the actress to the side. Say, well, you know, let's try. Do you think there is another way we can do it? And he or she will say, no, I think it's this way. And one of my tricks is says, you know what, let's do it your way one time and another take my way. That's one of the known tricks in the business. One time your way, one time my way. Hitchcock was very strong about it. He was very, what I read, strong-headed man. And there is a famous story about an actress who was demanded. They said, no, we'll do it my way. So Hitchcock came up with the same idea. Alfred Hitchcock said, let's do it my way and your way. But first we'll do it your way. The actress, it was an actress. And they filmed it. He goes to the camera, all day the camera, you could open the magazine and take out the, you open the magazine, he takes the film, cut it, and he gives it to her and says, here is your way. Now let's do it my way.
So, I mean, you've made films, right? Were you making films?
I co-directed one short film. It was-
So, you have a similar process? I mean, a lot of the rehearsal happens on set before they light, correct?
Right.
So that's your first opportunity to see the performance. You know, hopefully, if you don't have the opportunity to rehearse in advance, you know, but I would say you don't give line readings, right?
No, in low budget, it's limited. We don't get a period of rehearsals. We don't have it. There is no, it's not in the budget, period of rehearsals. So, you know, you have while you're doing the staging, okay, let's rehearse. Or maybe I have a chance to do reading with them while they're in the makeup room. I go and we do reading, but we don't have it in the budget to rehearse.
Right.
Like other movies. I heard once Paul Reiner, what's his name? Paul Reiner.
Okay.
Good Men, bunch of good men. What's the name of the?
Rob Reiner.
Rob Reiner. So he rehearsed the movie until he says, I'm rehearsing again. The entire movie before starting shooting.
It's
like a play, like a stage play. He said, when we shoot the movie, it's technical. Everybody knows exactly what they are doing. It's everything was already decided upon, and all we come and we do and we shoot our rehearsals that we did the weeks before. So different approaches. Again, I'm saying different approaches. Many approaches.
And what's your name? I'm sorry.
Tristan.
Tristan. So what I can say, just observing Sam and working with him on this project, and see, he always insists on standing up, right? So directors got to be the first guy there.
Always first.
Always got to be the first guy there, and he's extremely positive, even if things aren't going right. Sam has a personality that is encouraging, right? So, you know, like there were some moments when we're working on the artwork and things like that where I was like ready to give the artist the freedom, and Sam would just nudge him just a little bit to the left or a little bit
with
to the
few
right.
compliments and few good words.
And it brought out the better.
Yeah.
In all the artists that we've worked with and collaborating, and also with the color correction and things like that. So I think it's just maintaining a positive attitude is 90% of it, getting the result that is desired and required of the finished piece, you know, if that makes sense. I don't know.
No,
Does that make sense
there
to
are.
you?
Go
Yeah,
ahead,
that sounds
listen.
great. I mean, you guys are, you know how lucky you are. If I had had this when I was your age, like how much I would know now.
I know, right?
It's
So true,
amazing.
so
you
true.
know?
There is a question.
We have-
So this one right here?
We have one last question.
Last question.
And Priscilla's already here waiting for you guys, so we'll have a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
We'll have the last question, and we'll have a
Yeah.
couple of minutes for the students if they want to.
We're
take a picture.
listening to your question.
So is the restored version ever gonna be on streaming?
down the line, but it's your, yeah, I mean, we have a version,
That's
a low
what
definition.
that's what everybody wants.
Yeah.
Is to be able to stream it. You know, it's been a sizable investment to get it just to this stage. So the next step is to, and we just recently discovered, and we're in discussion, someone, you know, Valerie has a complete print of the film.
We just found another print.
We just discovered this, right? So we're working that out. How can we fully restore the film so that can be screened in festival? Then the next step is Kickstarter, fundraiser, word of mouth screenings and events that will help us raise the money to take it to physical media. And then after that, somebody's probably gonna take a copy of it and put it on YouTube. So we can avoid the Netflix and all those people, you know. This is a movie for the people, right, Sam?
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, I think everybody that has been working on this project is in agreement that this is a movie that not only needs to be seen, but deserves to be seen in its best possible way. So that's where we are now with it. And I would imagine what
Special audience, of course.
well, my goal is, Steve James's birthday is February 18th. Right, so we're gonna have a screening in Philadelphia on February 17th, and my goal is to have physical media in people's hands by this time next year. So we'll have a LA screening that will be a DVD release party.
Right.
So that's the goal. So you know, that's the long version of what Sam just said. Yeah, down the line, you'll be able to watch it on your tablets, but we want more people to have the experience and feel invested in getting this movie rebirthed. So, you know, hopefully that answers your question.
Anyway, thank you very much for coming and enjoying this movie and watching this movie with us. As I told you, for us, it was an experience. First time I saw this movie.
This is a
In a
great
big screen.
theater.
First time in my life.
This is a
Yeah.
great theater.
This is where the students learn. This is where they watch films also, with screenings, and we do all kinds of outreach for the students here. But this is our classroom.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Black Film Club.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Black Film Club.
Thank you guys for coming, and if you have, their ride is here already, because they gotta be ushered elsewhere, swift away, but if you guys want a quick picture or something, and if you don't mind,
Pictures, anything, you guys want pictures?
come on in quick, because he's gotta run.
Yeah, Joey.
I don't know.
On behalf, we thank everybody for coming. We thank Sam, we thank Michael, we're real black, and we thank the Denver Black Film Festival. And we got more in store. Thank you. No, Carrie, no.
And actually, where's Michael?
Postcards are free, posters are selling. Posters are selling. Thanks for watching.
Postcards are
We got
free,
55
posters
people
are
in
selling.
here. Oh, Sam, you see him?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, we're out. See you tomorrow.
Michael.